Oh, hey everyone, of course, back with another video with David. The king is back. We're going to be chatting a little bit about profitability and the path to profitability here, but also would love to chat about some of the comparisons to other websites, whether they're in the psychedelic market industry, but also talking about, cannabis and kind of what happened there, websites we saw really take over, and kind of, I guess, chatting on comparison level. But let's touch on path to profitability, I think, first, and we'll go from there. Do you want to start with maybe some of the different revenue streams or opportunity that's available to a website, an educational website or just a website in general? You want to kind of kick it off?
Sure, yeah. And so I think where I really want to, kick things off is making it really clear that here as CEO of Global Trac, it really is my primary objective and my goal to ensure that the company really is at all times on a very reasonable and realistic path to profitability, as I understand how important that is to our growth and our expansion here over the course of time. So making sure that we are on a track, so to speak, where we are going to be able to plug ourselves into a variety of different revenue streams and opportunities is really important here. And so with that in mind, I definitely want to touch on how, so much of our focus and our energy right now really is spent on developing and expanding our Psychedelic Spotlight website and our Microdose monthly newsletter, as we really recognize how important and valuable those tools are going to be for us to create legitimate revenue opportunities here going forward. And I think to kind of help people understand sort of the bigger picture and what we're trying to sort of put together here, I'd point them to a company called Leafly, Leafly.com. They've become one of the most prominent websites within the cannabis space here in the last few years. And I think what makes their story so unique and certainly so intriguing is how they've been able to really evolve and grow right alongside the cannabis space and that industry here over the last several years. And you look at that industry where in the very beginning, when it was starting to get pushed a little bit more into the mainstream, I think you had a lot of people starting to ask a lot of questions related to cannabis, particularly on the medicinal side. You had people wondering, how can medicinal cannabis help control anxiety? How can it help you sleep better at night or focus better at work? And as people started to put these questions out there, Leafly really became a central hub, so to speak, for information and education where people could go and find the answers to these questions. And taking it a step further, with Leafly, and what they do is they break down and describe the different strains of cannabis, which is really important information when you're especially looking at cannabis from a medicinal standpoint and you're really looking to have a specific effect. So it's important to understand the differences between the different strains. So say you're looking for a strain of cannabis that was going to help you sleep better at night. You found it on Leafly, you educated yourself on it, now you wanted to go buy it. Leafly would then take it a step further and then show you the different dispensaries or medical clinics within your area where you could actually go purchase that specific strain. So what Leafly was able to do in terms of helping the cannabis industry really grow and connecting patients with the dispensaries was huge. There's no question about it. So looking at that model and looking at what we're doing here with Psychedelic Spotlight, there's no doubt about the fact that we're trying to sort of mold what we are becoming and what we're developing in a very similar way to what Leafly has been able to mold themselves and develop themselves into on the cannabis side of things. And when you look at Leafly and where they are here today, they've got roughly 15 million visitors to their website every single month, which has really put them in a pretty prominent position to be able to tap into a variety of different revenue streams, particularly selling advertising space on their website. And so when we look at that, that's obviously something that we want to be able to eventually evolve into and create similar opportunities, of course, on the medicinal psychedelic space here. So I think the thing that I really want to get across is we have a very clear objective and a very clear target in terms of what we want to develop ourselves into and who we want to become. And so a lot of the focus right now really is, again, I said, spending right now on developing the Psychedelic Spotlight website and the Microdose monthly newsletters.
Yeah, and I want to touch on, I think what's crazy about Leafly, and we'll chat about others too, but just websites in general, a lot of people, they hear website and they go, okay, they're selling ads. There's a lot of extremely successful websites that their ad revenue is even like 5-10% of what the company actually generates. What I think is interesting to talk about, again, the opportunities, and really making people see the bigger picture. If you have even 1 million monthly users, you can bring value to a lot of other things. And I'm not saying obviously partner with everybody, but from a marketing standpoint, hey, this is another area of psychedelics that, myself wants to look at. And using your following, using your base, you can actually help them, but also help yourself with that, partnership or with that new venture or whatever's happening. There's a big value there. And, again, with these newsletters that, you guys are doing, there's a big value that you guys can attach to that. Of course, you want to make sure you support great companies, but hey, why not support great companies and make money? That's a huge win. And I think that's a big part people miss out, is there's also, sponsored articles, sponsored this, sponsored that, ways that you guys grow and other people grow. And it's kind of a win for everybody. You're giving them exposure. You talk about coming from the PR, IR kind of world a little bit, and so did your predecessor, I guess, a little bit, and chatting. Obviously, there's a lot more avenues than just ads, and I want people to really understand that. We'll talk about Leafly again, but even throwing in weed maps, another big success story. These guys started as simply, hey, this is where dispensaries are in your, in your vicinity. It used a Google app or Google Maps kind of plugin or API, and hey, you can go here, you can go there. Now they've almost moved it to more of an e-commerce play, and they do extremely well. Yeah, it still has, hey, you can pick this up here, you can pick it up there, but now they have all the strains. Here's the type it is, here's the benefits, here's whatever. And there's a lot more that they're doing, and they also have the newsletter approach, and there's a lot of different revenue streams. I think it's important to talk about. Is there anything more you wanted to kind of expand on?
Yeah, sure. So, when we look at the medicinal psychedelic space right now, obviously it's still just informational driven. It doesn't have a market yet, but the anticipation and of course the expectation is that it's eventually going to get to a place where it is very similar to where we see the medicinal side of things in cannabis right now, where you're going to have patients and there's going to be a need to connect those patients with the different licensed physicians and clinics that are offering and administering the different psychedelic related therapeutic treatments. And so that, taking it a step further and really looking big picture here, that's sort of what we are hoping to develop here. And that's something that you develop through a platform. And so leveraging Psychedelic Spotlight, obviously our number one objective right now is developing a reputation for ourselves, a respected one, as a place where people can come and find information to educate themselves about everything and really every sector involved in this space right now. And then as the industry sort of grows and evolves here and kind of comes into its own form, there's going to be other opportunities. And I really look at the fact that we as a society are a review-driven society, in the sense that I know friends, I know people that won't set foot into a restaurant if it's got less than 3 stars on Yelp. Or I know people that will spend hours looking up the reviews associated with a psychiatrist or a dentist, and for good reason, because especially on the medical side of things, medical treatment is very personal and very intimate, and psychedelics is no different. In fact, I would make the argument that psychedelics are far more personal and far more intimate than anything else in the medical industry, just given the fact that they have the ability to tap into areas of our mind and our consciousness that we ourselves have a difficult time coming face to face with. So with that in mind, I think it's going to be very important to establish a platform and a forum, so to speak, where people are going to be able to go share their experiences once these psychedelic related therapeutic treatments become available, and how they help them, how that experience affected them personally. Because you're going to have a lot of people starting to look into medicinal psychedelics and starting to ask the question, is this something? Is microdosing psilocybin something that can help me or a loved one with depression? Or microdosing LSD, how can that help control anxiety? And reading and hearing about actual stories from actual people that are going through these treatments is going to be important to establish a level of credibility and also comfortability for potential patients. And then going beyond that, there is going to be that need to connect the patients with the physicians and the clinics. And so establishing Psychedelic Spotlight as that resource within this space, as a place where eventually that's our end goal. We want to be able to do that. We want to be more than just an informational hub, but a place where you can find the information. And then when you're ready to kind of take things to the next level, we're going to help guide you to the best places where you can start to, explore a little bit more. So I think there's a lot here. Obviously, we have a path, and as long as we stick to this path, I'm incredibly confident that we're going to get where we want to get. So there's a lot here. There's a lot of potential. There's no question about it.